Shalom. Let's start off by giving our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect that's pushing this truth across the four corners of the earth in all fair truth and sincerity. This I'm one about back again in the city. This one going to about just a video I ran into about Dabu 7. It's about the food supply chain. The food supply chain is breaking. Panic buying begins. Food rationing, water restrictions imposed. Um, hmm. So, things. The situation with Iran, is being felt. You know, amongst other countries and so forth, and it's having an effect. Gas prices and so forth, rationings. Things it's gonna get worse and worse, man. Especially here in America, Babylon the Great, man. The times that we ain't going forward is it's gonna be some very, very, very rough, hard, times, evil times, are here, and like I said, the only ones that gonna make it out of this, and the only ones gonna, have mercy and be delivered and have that hedge of protection is the elect of the so-called Negro Latino natives, the Israelites, the elect of Israel, and and hopefully I'm part of the righteous number, but that's what it is, man. And everyone that's not of that number, it's gonna face a lot of horrific, judgments, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of mourning and death, is ahead, man. But I'm gonna play this video by Dabu 77.
To panic buy.
Excuse me, hold on.
In prices skyrocketing in different departments here. We obviously have the situation with oil at the forefront, and this is what many consider to be like lock one. This is what's sparking everything and has the whole fiasco in motion. But then on top of this, you have Russia and China stepping up as lock 2 and lock 3, both putting a stop to exporting things like ammonium nitrate, which is used for fertilizer. And then Beijing, the nitrogen.
See, that's another thing to it about the fertilizer. Now Russia and China, now they're putting a stop to fertilizer, hey, there's gonna be some problems going forward. Famine. They're gonna lead to famine, man, in America, Babylon the Great, man. But I'll keep playing the rest of this.
Potassium, all the phosphate blends for the fertilizer. At the same time, they're strategically stopping this from going out worldwide as part of this war. The price of gas climbing. This is how Iran is fighting back without missiles, hurting Donald Trump here on the home front because the price is rising. It's passing that $4 mark on average, which they label as politically sensitive. Donald Trump's latest approval numbers at an all-time low of 32%.
And like I said, that's gonna lead to, Iran or China, Russia, they stopping stuff from coming here to America, Babylon the Great, supply chain stoppage. It's gonna lead to chaos in America, Babylon the Great, chaos in the streets. People gonna start, like I say, doing what they gotta do to survive, second Esdras 15, is gonna be, full go. You know, people gonna be out here doing what they gotta do, not caring about their neighbor. You know, gotta do what they do. They gonna do what they gotta do to survive. But I'm play the rest of this.
He keeps trying to go back and forth, and everyone can kind of tell he has no solid off ramp to like end this whole thing. And then you have other countries like going into kind of crisis mode of their own. Australia, panic buying, prompts the PM to reassure Australians that the fuel's going to be there and it won't go through the roof, but people are not believing that. They're going out in mass anywhere they can, and they're stocking up in mass, and the panic begins. When it comes to the fertilizer, the timing here is critical. It's spring. This is when all the farmers are getting their gardens going, getting their farms going, and that can't happen for a lot of them if they don't have the fertilizers that they need. They're going to the Trump administration like, we need help, and Trump's trying to act like everything's going to be okay. Short-term pain, long-term gain is what they try to keep saying, but that's a bunch of garbage. Look around the world, and you can see people are feeling it big time. Japan getting hit in terms of its reserves, and other places have been selling their gold. That's why the gold pulled back, so they can buy other things that they don't have because everything's turning. Now, Japan and Trump are both saying that this could boost coal-fired power. Well, that's not going to help anyone throughout Appalachia in America that has coal that the government says you basically can't sell. They've shut down coal country, even when Donald Trump promised that he would revive it. Then you have India slapping taxes on fuel exports at the same time. All this going down and causing problems for surrounding areas, like in Thailand. They're tightening the fuel prices. People are freaking out the same way. They're trying to go to the store and get as much gas as possible. There's shortages. They are rationing there now, fuel, as it begins. So rationing, this leads ultimately to like flight cancellations, export limits, price controls, all because of the situation going down in Hormuz at the heart of it. It seems this is one bigger play, if you ask me, because it's advantageous to so many world leaders out there that run countries, not to the people or anyone else. And then back here in America, look at what's going on with the drought. Big time. Weather warfare. All manipulated to the fullest. You've got it from the Rockies all the way down to Florida. Water alerts. Where people are being told, look, you have to restrict your use. Look at NYC and what they're trying to roll out. Power restrictions from 11 to 5, which many say it's gonna open a door to criminals big time. Like, something's happening, and it looks like it's planned. We told you energy lockdowns and all that, it's a real deal thing, and as everything else is rising, it looks like all that is surely on the way. Join me for the live streams where I've got more time to talk about this. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
So it goes to show you that the way Dabu 77 saying, you know, hey, you know, things are just not finna get it's not finna get better. You know, things are finna get worse and worse here in America. Bombing the great people are panic buying, rationing. They are buying. They are filling up fuel not tankers, but they buying up extra fuel. You know, to have just in case these gas stations do run out of fuel. You know. And you might have people here in America bobbing the great, you know. People here in America are doing it, you know, right now, cause ain't no guarantee. You know, you go to these gas stations, you know, going forward, you go to these gas stations, might not even be no gas in at these gas stations. You know, they be like, we out of gas, you know. And there was a point I think it was it 2024? I forgot what year. I think it was 24, 23, one of them. But it was a point where it was gas stations, they was running out of gas, And you know what I'm saying? And people started panic buying, and buying up the fuel, because the gas station wasn't filling, gas stations wasn't filling up like they're supposed to. I forgot what it was. It was going to like a shortage then, but it picked back up because of it was something with the truckers or something. I forgot what it was at the time, but it picked back up, whatever. But now we in this situation. Hey, it might not be no point on no return. It might not be they gonna get back to filling up the gas stations, whatever. It might get to a point where there ain't no more gas coming to the gas stations. The people that deliver the gas, the tankers, they be like, hey, then we ain't got none. We ain't got none coming in. They completely ran out. It might be it'll probably get to where it's completely ran out. And once it get to that point. Unless it do get to that point, we'll see. But if it do get to that point, I said no point on no return. People out here gonna be losing it, man. I said it's gonna get ugly out here, man. But get the scriptures to back this up. There you go. This Second Ezra 16:37. Behold, the plagues draw nigh, and are not slack. So these plagues that the Lord Yahweh Yahushua is bringing upon this world, the so-called white man, Edomite's world. This world is ran by these so-called white people, red people, Edomites. It's being brought upon them, especially in America, Babylon the Great. In other places too. The plagues are, drought. You know what I'm saying? Famine's gonna come. Power. Power. Excuse me. The power being cut off. In countries, in America, Babylon Great. Eventually, that's gonna happen. Because Iran, threatening cutting, saying they'll cut the internet off. They'll send they'll cut the power off here. So hey, man, that's the times that we're in here forward. I mean, that's the times that we're in now and going forward is gonna get chaotic, man. Like I said, no punt or no return, man. So, but like I said, these players are not slack, man. The Lord Yahweh is bringing it. But next verse, 2 Ezra 16:38, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compares a womb, which pains when the child come forth, they slacken at a moment. So, and like a woman had about to have a baby, right? And that baby, can't be, stopped from coming out. It's gonna come. Just like these plagues. The Lord Yahweh Bahashem, excuse me. Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua is bringing these plagues upon America, Babylon the Great, in the world, and it's not gonna slack, it's not gonna slow down. And you know what I'm saying? It's gonna keep on, things gonna keep happening, and people gonna feel it, man. People gonna feel these plagues. That the Lord Yahweh Bahashem that the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua is bringing, And right now, you deal with the situation in Iran, people are feeling it, but it's gonna get way worse, man, And like I said, like they say, you ain't seen nothing yet. It's gonna get way worse, man. But go from there to go to the next verse. 2 Ezra 16:39. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. So hey, the plagues, it's not gonna be slack to come upon this earth, this world. All this wickedness is going on, in this world, in this earth. and like I said, that these so-called white people, Esau, Edomite devils, are pushing upon, the people in the world, and what they doing to the earth, and like I said, all this wickedness and sinful acts that the Most High Yahweh, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, the Son, the Lord Yahweh Shai, who y'all call Jebus, the real name of the Lord is Yahweh Shai in the Hebrew. So they bringing these plagues. Judgment is coming down, man. By the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. And these times going forward, man, everybody gonna feel it. It said mourning and sorrow shall come upon it on every side, man. Everybody gonna feel it, man. We're finna head to some, man. It's finna get dramatic. It's finna get horrific judgments. People out here are gonna be losing their minds. People gonna be, like I say, the love of men waxing cold. You seeing that now, but it's gonna get way worse. You know what I'm saying? Folks not gonna be giving a damn about nothing about you. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be trying to survive. They're gonna try to rob and take what you got. And it was a video that came. It was a video that I saw. It was on TikTok, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was on TikTok. I think it was, but it was a man that said, how they say, hey, women, watch out. Watch out, women. Y'all better watch yourselves out in these parking lots. They people trying to snatch you up. Hey, they said they snatching up men. They're coming they're harassing men. They're trying to snatch you up. And put you in a van, whatever, and take you, whatever. And I think it said it's some Edomites, so-called white people, red people are doing it. I'm not mistaken what he was saying, but he just saying, hey man, they out here trying to get men, and mainly, I said the so-called Negro, Latino, Native men, Israelites, So he was saying like, watch your back, hey, and not just that, like I say, people out here gonna be robbing and taking what you got, man, money, whatever. That's how, how people gonna have their backs against their wall, and they losing their jobs, they ain't got no money, and these jobs not hiring. Don't be surprised people stealing out these stores too. Gonna start stealing out these stores and, taking whatever, and, running out the store. Because, things, the price of things keep going up, man. Folks gonna do what they gotta do. They're like, I'm not paying no almost $20 for bread or whatever it may be, milk, water, whatever it may be, whatever it may be, that's gonna go up to that. Is it because it's gonna be some crazy? These prices for food and so forth, things gonna rise up more and more, and people gonna be like, you know what, I'm gonna just start stealing and running out this store. It's gonna get wild out here, man. And like I say, it ain't gonna slow down. The Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is finna bring his great wrath and judgment, down upon this place, America, Babylon the Great, man. We in those times now, and this is gonna intensify, get worse and worse, man. And like I said, a lot of people out here in America, Babylon the Great, are not paying attention, to how bad really this is gonna get. Now, I'm not saying it ain't everyone, but most Americans still out here want to party and have fun. They still in that party mindset and folly, and stupidity. They still just want to, do things, and what I'm saying, let's have fun. Let's plan this and plan that, not knowing like, is you paying attention to what's going on? Is you really paying attention to what's really going on in the world right now? There ain't no time to be want to plan stuff and party and do this and do that. And most of that be women too, man. They still want to party in the midst of chaos. This is crazy, but that's women minds, they don't get. They just want to party. They don't care what's going on. But men, the men out here are, and it's not all men, but I'm gonna say the men of the Lord, the apostles and the elders and brother Great Millstone, the men of the Lord that had the truth of the word of Lord Yahushua and have the spirit of Lord Yahushua upon them, is aware of what's going on around them, spiritually aware, having the spiritual awareness, what's going on around them, man. And not, being as foolish, knowing the times that you're in, being a serious mindset, being something, and there's no telling what can happen, soon. Anything can happen and go down, man. Like I said, the power could go out, you know what I'm saying? Like, and all hell could break loose out here in the streets, or some type of cyber attack, or, the internet goes down, or whatever it may be, or some type of attack that happens within the city, and, you don't want to be around that. You want to pray to the Lord Yahushua that the Lord Yahushua keep you away from, keep you from being taken in the evil days, which we in now, the evil times. But it's going to increase. And like I say, it's going to increase. We in those, in the beginnings of it, but it's going to increase, and get worse. Me myself, first and foremost, like I always say, hopefully I'm probably watching number 2 escape the rapid judgment of Lord Yahushua, and those that believe in Lord Yahushua, and hopefully to escape his wrath and judgments that he's going to bring down upon this place in America, Babylon the Great, going forward, because that's the times that we're in and going forward, man. Lord Yahushua, the Lord Yahweh Yahushua is from Yahushua. He's finna bring those judgments down, man. If you ain't a part of that number, if you ain't part of that righteous number, the 144,000, the 1/3, Israelites, you're not gonna have that hedge of protection by the Lord Yahushua in these times and have mercy, But let me see. Is that no? See, is it gonna load up for me or no? Let me see something. I don't know why. I might have to read it like. Let me see. Let me read it like this, because it won't pop up, so I'm gonna have to read it like this. So this second Ezra 16-40. O my people, hear my word. Make ye ready to battle, or you say the battle. And in those days, in those evils, be even as pilgrims upon the earth. So, hey, hey, that's the times that we in, on those that believe in Lord Yahushua and His truth. Me myself first and foremost. Hey, make you ready to the battle, man. Prepare your spirit. Fast and pray, whatever you gotta do. Me myself first and foremost. Strengthen, your spirit. And be as pilgrims, like, pilgrim where they move around, whatever, like that. They don't, they not finna be settled in far as, being in a situation where, not being comfortable, because it's not the times that we ain't going forward, and it's not a time to be comfortable and relaxing in this place, because the times that we in and the things that we are seeing according to prophecies are happening now and going forward is, this place America, Babylon the Great, finna face some great evils, great bad times, horrific judgments that's gonna come down by the Lord Yahweh Bash and Yahweh Shai in these times, and eventually Lord Yahweh Shai gonna return, and he gonna destroy this place America, Babylon the Great, and he gonna deliver his elect, the elect, the Israelites, so-called Negro, Latinos and natives, Israelites, the elect, Israel that kept their faith, kept their faith in Lord Yahushua, then, excuse me, then, denounce their faith, then give up, they kept the faith unto the end. Kept believing until Lord Yahushua returns, and even they die in the faith, they kept their faith until the end, and Lord Yahushua is gonna raise those that died in the faith, and those that remain gonna be taken up with them, the ones that died in the faith. But I didn't want to make it too long, so again, hope this was edifying. I like to give all praise and honor. I like to give all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem Kakadash, to the apostle elders, to the Sisakian brothers, to the few Akwaf sisters that do listen, keep the faith in Yahushua, keep fighting with that, say Shalom.